wanted to go with option 3 there, and because that would have been fun, but maybe I'll do it on my own time and just send it to you for review.
Yeah. Well, you can save yourself some time. Your thorough response was more thorough than I even expected, so I appreciate it. I've learned quite a bit, to be honest. So,
have you ever looked into a sovereign citizen before?
Camera's live.
Hang on, you can stop that. Yeah. All right, Xavier, do you know how to turn your microphone on? Pat, can you unmute yourself?
What was the question?
Can you unmute Xavier? Oh, there we go. All right.
There you go. Somebody's got a pig running around their house, it sounds like.
On by both phone and video.
All right. You got 6 there, Pat? We're ready?
We don't have Matt Mao yet, it looks like, but we have a quorum.
My clock.
Matthew Mao.
There you go.
Speak of the Mao.
All right, 6 p.m. 6 p.m. We'll call this regular village board meeting to order.
Has
You'd all
joined the
join me
meeting.
first in a moment of silence. Thank you. Then tonight we are joined by one of our local scouts, Xavier Try, is joining us, participating tonight, working on his civics and government badges. So Xavier, would you please do the Pledge of Allegiance for us this evening?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, now go for it, Xavier.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, under God, indivisible, indivisible, and justice with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, could you take the roll, please?
Yes, Trustee Mann.
Present.
Trustee Gerger.
Present.
Trustee Charo. Present. Trustee Detmer.
Here.
Trustee Mao.
Present.
Trustee Scherschel.
Present.
Village President Kimsey.
Present. All right, did anybody send public announcements or public comment this evening?
No, they did not.
All right, I would like to take the time to recognize Officer James J.R. Richards. His retirement from the village and the Chatham Police Department becomes officially effective on the 15th of this month. J.R. spent 20 years and 4 months with the village of Chatham Police Department. So I want to thank him for all of his time and service, especially all the work that he did with Bella to help start our canine program. Bella got to retire before JR, and now he gets to join her in retirement. So, best wishes, JR, and thank you for all that you've done. So, move now to the consent agenda. Trustee Mann, could I have a motion to put the consent agenda on the table?
I will make that motion.
Trustee Gerger, second.
I'll second.
We have any discussion regarding the minutes or the warrants?
The only thing I would ask on the warrants, I saw that tree service was on there again. If we could, I know it's not on the agenda for the committee of the whole, but I'd like to discuss that at some point in time. if not the next committee of the whole, maybe the next utility meeting, if you could put that on the agenda, Pat, and could you send us the agreement we have in place with that tree service for the branch pickup?
I will. I will.
Thank you.
Anything further? Madam Clerk, could you take the roll, please?
Trustee Mann?
Yes.
Trustee Berger?
Yes.
Trustee Charo?
Yes.
Trustee Detmer?
Yes.
Trustee Mao?
Yes.
Trustee Churchill?
Yes.
Okay, item,
Amy,
no old business.
Amy,
item-
what's the resolution number on that?
1920.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll get the ordinance for you next.
All right.
Okay, no old business. Under new business, item 1 is an ordinance amending the village liquor code to add 2 Class P licenses and withdraw 2 Class C licenses. Trustee Gerber, can I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Churchill, is a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we had a request. Both of these are Casey's, correct, Pat?
That's correct.
Okay. Casey's has made a request to have their liquor license modified from a packaged liquor license to one that would also include the ability to just hard liquor as well as the beer.
Actually, Dave, they would go from a C, which is a convenience store license, to a P, which is a package license.
Excuse me, said it backwards, but
Yeah.
same principle. It's from beer and wine up to beer and including hard liquor. That's what their request was. So that came last week. We thought we would put it here. If there are any questions or discussions, otherwise we do have a motion available on the floor to make that change. Does anyone have any discussion?
That does not allow them to have video gambling, correct?
That's correct. They don't have the T designation or the G designation.
Okay.
Do we know who the other P was? I just was curious about that.
What was the question?
What is the other Class P?
It's the liquor store that's right next to the BP station.
Thank you.
Hey, Pat. Can you hear me?
I can.
I'm sorry, it was 2020. Will you change that resolution number to 2020, please?
All right.
All right. Hearing no further discussion on this change, Madam Clerk, would you take the roll?
Yep. Trustee Mann?
Yes.
Trustee Gerger?
Yes.
Trustee Charo?
Yes.
Detmers?
Yes.
Trustee Detmers?
Yes.
Trustee Churchill?
Yes.
Trustee Mao?
Yes.
All right. Item 2 under that is a resolution accepting the lowest responsible bids for electric distribution materials needed for 2021. Trustee Charo, could I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
And Trustee Manning, could I have a second?
I will second.
Shane had put out the request for bids on various electrical distribution items to complete his work through 2021. Some of the work through 2021, the bids came in open, and the recommendation is a combination of materials from Nixter totaling $132,285.50 and from Fletcher totaling $220,758.75. Anyone have any questions or discussion regarding the acceptance of these bids?
That project work will go from our substation at Independence and Route 4, north along Route 4, and then west along Mansion Road and tie in down at Ptarmigan. That will loop the electric system from that side tying it in with the system that we currently have. That way it's looped in both directions, something that's been needed for a long time.
How many bidders did we have?
In most of those cases, they have 2 to 3 different bidders for different pieces and different, those were in the minutes from last week or 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Okay, anything further? Hearing none, Madam Clerk?
Trustee Mann?
Yes.
Trustee Gerger?
Yes.
Trustee Charo?
Yes.
Trustee Detmers?
Yes.
Trustee Mao?
Yes.
Trustee Churchill?
Yes.
All right, again, we had no public comments submitted for this evening. Unless you have something you'd like to say, Xavier. We put him on the spot. Schedule of meetings reads Chatham Fire and Police Commission, May 20th, 5:30 p.m. The Planning Commission, 6 p.m., May 21st. Village Board meeting again at 6 p.m. on May 26th. Utility Oversight Subcommittee scheduled for 6 p.m. June 8th. The Village Board, 6 p.m. June 13th. And the Committee of Whole, 6:15 on June 13th. We have no need for a closed session for the board portion of this meeting. So, Trustee Mao, can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
I'll make that motion.
And Trustee Churchill, could I have a second?
Second.
And Madam Clerk, go ahead and take a roll, please.
Trustee Mann?
Yes.
Trustee Gerger?
Yes.
Trustee Charo?
Yes.
Trustee Detmers?
Yes.
Trustee Mao?
Yes.
Trustee Churchill?
All right, board meeting stands adjourned. I'll let Pat, as the official timekeeper on site at the Village Hall, tell us how long we have before the Committee of the Whole will begin.
We have 4 minutes,
4 minutes.
but remember the camera's still rolling.
All right. Does anybody have a good, clean joke?
No.
Xavier?
Yeah.
This is usually the time that everybody would tell us, I'm really good.
I'm not a joke.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a dad joke calendar.
Oh, Dewey's going to get it?
Of course. What kind of
My is always this. Greg, what's your favorite lawyer joke?
That's appropriate.
Please.
I don't know. They're usually just about lawyers being dead or something. It's a good start.
Like
the only
the
one.
300 on the bottom of the ocean?
Yeah, that's a good start.
I think Dewey had one from his dad joke a day calendar.
What kind of exercise is good for lazy people?
What?
Diddly squat.
Okay.
I'm going to tell my wife that one.
Yeah. She probably smacked you. You implying I'm lazy?
Yeah. I always go back to the, I broke my mirror this week. I'm supposed to get 7 years of bad luck, but Greg thinks he can get me off with 4. Have we put 3 minutes yet? Are we done?
What do clouds wear under their pants? No, what do clouds wear under their shorts is what it is. I'm sorry.
That makes a big difference from what I was going to guess.
Matthew Mao.
I don't think that's the right answer.
That means Matthew Mao. I did not see that coming.
The answer is underpants.
Underpants. Okay.
Underpants.
Instead of underpants.
Yeah. All right, I give you one more lawyer joke, and then we're going to turn it back over to Greg. So do you know the difference between a good lawyer and a great lawyer? is that a good lawyer knows the law. A great lawyer knows the judge. Trustee Gerber.
The real difference is about $50,000 an hour.
Yeah.
Are we ready to go? We got a minute or two?
One more minute.
Woo. I still can't give, only thing I'm looking for them background with Dewey is a Sherpa. I mean, he's bundled up.
I'll come next time.
I like the little chair too, the little recliner. That makes you feel even bigger.
For my guest.
It's a strategy, you know, like gay shopping.
I'm huge. Look how little chairs are to me.
I have a bunch of little kids, don't you remember that?
That's right. You guys probably qualify as DCFS of being over the limit for daycare, don't you?
We got an exemption.
All right, I think we're good, aren't we, Pat?
We are.
Okay.
Gerber, it's all yours.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Dahlkamp, can we have a roll call?
Yep. Trustee Mann,
Here.
trustee Gerger,
Present?
trustee Gerger,
Present.
trustee Charo,
Present.
trustee Detmer,
Here.
trustee Mao,
And we've
Trustee
lost him
Mao.
again.
okay. Trustee Churchill,
Present.
Okay. We have any public comments on agenda topics, Pat?
We do not.
All right. Can I have a motion to bring the consent agenda forward? That was trustee Detmers, and then trustee Charles, can you second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion on the minutes? All right, Amy, since we're virtual, can you take a roll?
yep. Trustee Mann,
Yes.
trustee Detmer,
Yes.
trustee Gerger,
Yes.
trustee Charo,
Yes.
trustee Churchill,
Yes.
and then just to confirm, trustee Mao.
All right, no old business, new business, CMT engineering updates.
Are you on there, Jim?
Okay, Jim Michael here. Let's see, a couple of things here to go over. Completed the drainage improvements, culvert replacement at Glenwood Park subdivision. That was done a couple of weeks ago, roadway patched and back open to traffic. So I got that one completed. We did the patch at Gordon and Spruce, working through some figures with the contractor and just couldn't come to terms with them to do some drainage and ditching work associated with that. So Pat and I are working with the street crew to get that water off the road and do some ditching improvements along the west side of Gordon Drive down to the creek, and should get that done here shortly. Also working with Pat on letters of credit on defunct subdivisions. Forwarded a couple of documents here today to Pat, so pursue that with the village attorney and see if we can claim on some of that outstanding bond money for, either uncompleted items or defective construction, latent defective construction issues associated with those subdivisions. let's see, we're also working on the drainage at the Village Electrical Building and, also the associated subdivision flooding, and trying to relieve some of those issues. Got the surveys completed last week and digging into some of the design associated with that, see if we can come up with a feasible solution to improve that situation. As we discussed, I don't think that there's necessarily a foolproof solution in there, just because of the amount of land that we're dealing with and the amount of the volume of the water and what we have to work with. But I think we can certainly make things better than what they are now. So next couple of weeks we'll have some engineering plans pulled together and working with Pat and his crew on seeing if we can get something that's feasible and work with village staff to get that implemented. But that will be something that will take some time yet. Grading activities associated with that would require an MPDS permit, and that's a 30-day process. Getting the plans done, if we have to bid work or if we can do that in-house. But we'll keep you posted on what we come up with on that and try to get an amicable solution there that hopefully will make some of the residents and happy, and also make some of that property useful for village purposes as well. Another one, we've gone back and forth a couple of times with the village on the MFT program for this year. What we're hearing is some of the MFT numbers are going to be down due to the COVID-19, but looking at a decent-sized program, but once again trying to fix some worse portions of roadways. And then the other big change to MFT this year was with the budget, village budget, we're taking village staff time, labor costs, and that's going to go under the general fund. So all of the dollars going to MFT will be for material purposes. So what you'll see is, your MFT dollars going to more physical improvements, based on those accounts. So we'll continue to work through with them, with village staff, and get that approved by IDOT, and get some work done here this fall, or this summer and fall. And then another one that Pat kicked my way here today was, the Rebuild Illinois Bond Fund applications. So we'll work with village staff and see what we can recapture on that, whether it's going to be a, repaving of, Plummer Boulevard or, some other larger project that we can focus on associated with that available funding. So other than that, that's all that I had. Any questions?
Appreciate the update on the electrical area. I know that gentleman reached out again last week, so thanks for the timeline there.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Village manager update?
I've got two items listed here. The first one is our Blue Cross Blue Shield. It's up for renewal July the 1st. We've got quotes from Blue Cross Blue Shield through our, consultant,
Jim Michael.
Arthur J. Gallagher.
Has left the meeting.
What we have on Vision Care is the exact same as last year. The rates did not change. They stayed exactly the same, so there's a 0% change on that. The next one was a bit of a shock. It was the dental rates. The dental rates actually dropped 52.74%, which I don't know, Brett, if that's ever been heard of before. And the actual items that they cover has increased from 50% to 80%. So I think that one's a no-brainer for us. Half the cost, more than half the cost, and a better benefit package. And then the last one is the medical. And they sent us two offers, one of them for a 1-year renewal and one of them for a 2-year renewal. The 1-year renewal was an 8.91% increase, and the 2-year renewal was an 11.91% increase. So I know this is the first time since I've been the village manager that we've been offered a 2-year renewal. But if you figure that averaged out over 2 years, it's less than 6%. I think that would be the way to go in this case, especially with all the unknowns with COVID and everything else. So I will have an ordinance prepared for next meeting for you guys to give me the permission to renew these contracts and then to sign up for a 2-year one with Blue Cross Blue Shield instead of a single year. Is there any questions or?
So the dental pack was probably based on your guys' experience. You probably had less fillings, root canals, all that kind of stuff.
And that's how they base that.
Yeah, it's basically experience driven. And then if anybody has questions about that 2-year, that's a great deal because right now, industry-wise, you're looking at 7 to 9% increases, which they were right within that margin. And next year, they're projecting anywhere to 10 to 12% increases because of COVID. So to get an average of 6 over 2 years is pretty lucked out, really good.
And
any other questions?
Yeah. The out-of-pocket stays about the same for the a little bit higher for the 2-year renewal for out-of-pocket. The deductions stay about the same. And actually there's not a whole lot of difference between the in-network and out-of-network other than, the major medical part, so. But I'll have copies of those on board docs for you guys to look at next week.
Okay. Public Property and Recreation Committee discussion?
The only other thing I wanted to add, Brett, before we move on, was we did receive that check from CEFCU for North Point, and we will be starting to do work in that subdivision to finish out and repair all the sidewalks and stuff. So.
And then, just so people know, village employees went returned to full duty coming in this week. Is that correct?
Yeah, they showed up Monday morning to their regular workstations, and they've been there all day yesterday and today.
And then I've had some questions from people how we've implemented that. Are they doing in teams? Or are they doing it's just social distancing? What are we doing so people know?
We're still following the same guidelines that we were, for the last 7 weeks. Social distancing, since the governor came out and is requiring masks now, our people all have masks with them. If they're not around another person, they may not be wearing the mask, but if they're dealing with the public or near one of their coworkers, they're required to wear a mask. As far as workstations, they're working in groups by department, and they've had the experience now of the last 6-7 weeks of being able to get projects done and staying clear of each other of that 6-foot buffer, and that's what they're required to do now in downtimes, or if they go back for lunch and breaks. We've assigned seating areas for each employee so that they'll be able to sit away from the other ones and be able to eat their lunch or do whatever they need to be able to do, take breaks and stuff like that. So it's going to be a learning experience, but these guys have all kind of done that now for the last 6 to 7 weeks, and now they're back. So
if I hope nobody gets it, but if one were to get it, will we quarantine them? What's going to be the procedures for that?
If someone comes down with the symptoms, we have steps that they have to follow. They have to leave work. We can send them off and have them tested immediately. We can get the test results back within that day. And then we can turn around and find out, okay, who were you in close contact with? And then from there, we can go and determine, okay, do we need to have someone else stay home at least for the few days? Or do we have to just monitor their temperature, and if they start to show signs of it? But kind of our guideline here is worry about the 6 feet that you're in. If you are monitoring and taking care of the 6 feet around you, and the next person is worrying about the 6 feet around them, and they're not interacting, there's a very good chance that you're not going to pass it to someone here. If you get it from outside of here, I can't control that, but I want people to let me know the minute they start to feel sick or they feel like something is coming on. I need to know that so that I can protect all the rest of them here and not just worry about somebody who goes, yeah, I don't know if I'm sick or not. We're trying to err on the safe side.
And then to that effect, are we relaxing our FLMA for people that do get like the feds have granted people?
We have, and also I've worked it out, and Greg helped me put together a little contract that if some of my staff don't have enough sick time or personal days or vacation days, they can borrow up till the end of this month to use those, and then whatever they use, as soon as they earn next month and the month after that, they're required to pay those back before they could take any personal time off.
Great. Thanks, Pat. Anybody else have any questions regarding anything? Okay. Public Property and Recreation Committee discussion. Dewey?
Yeah, so we didn't meet on Monday because of COVID, and there wasn't a ton going on because the projects that we've been working on have been sort of on hold. The main project is consideration of the dog park at Westside Park. Again, there have been a couple people that reached out in opposition, and Trustee Strickland and I had mentioned that we would walk the streets that would be nearest the park and try to get an understanding of the citizens' opinions of the park and its placement or proposed placement. Again, we haven't been able to do that walk because of our COVID restrictions, but yesterday they did put together, I think maybe this morning even, they did put together a map of the area and a drawing of where the proposed dog park would be. So that helps us with our conversations there, as well as some lighting considerations that have been made. So I appreciate Dustin and Eric knocking that out. And I think it's in draft form now. Hopefully we'll have a more formal version soon.
And for people's edification, where's the dog park? Where are they looking to put it?
Yeah, it would be at Westside Park, which is just off of West Walnut, further west in the cemetery and south of Walnut. The placement of the park, hold on, I can share my screen here. So hold on. Take advantage of our WebEx.
Well, and I'm friends with a couple individuals on the Springfield Park Board, and I know they're adding more dog parks, from what I understand.
Yeah, I think it's obviously a pretty popular thing, and I think the folks of Chatham have been talking about it for quite some time.
Dewey, I gave you presenter.
Oh, thank you. Sharing screen too. Let me know if you can see my screen there.
There's your campaign ad.
My photo.
Oh yeah, come on, let's go back to that real quick. Yes, this is the drawing that Dustin and Eric had put together. This is the aerial view of Westside Park. There's a bigger parking lot here, and there were 4 baseball diamonds, and there was this volleyball pit over here. So this creek obviously is sort of a boundary that would be difficult for us to cross, but I think at this time the plan is to replace the 4, again, just to make sure we're on the same page. This whole area has been regraded to help push the water that was pooling in the middle towards the creek and then out. So that this is now a very gentle slope downward or northward towards the street. Because this has all been reseeded, these fields are not going to go back the way they were. They're thinking about these two, a small field here and a bigger field here. And this remaining fencing that we had, we could use some of that towards the dog park. But this dog park is in the yellow here, or the proposed area would be in the. So this is the larger park at the moment, and this is the smaller dogs. So the plan was to split the size of dogs just so they don't trample each other in excitement. I think that, you know, some of the folks involved were wondering if it could go further this way or what the restrictions were there. I know this building here has been being renovated, so that will be a good place for the dog owners to relax as the dogs play. But yeah, so this is it. Again, if you kind of zoom out, the bridge would be right about here that crosses into the playground area of the park. So there's a bit of distance in the creeks and some tree lines here between these houses, and then there's a bit of tree line here between these houses. But again, as you guys know, there have been a couple folks that have come up and said that the park might be a disturbance. So Paul and I had planned to just walk these houses to try to get an idea of if that group is the majority or the minority.
Where your cursor is are those the houses affected?
Yeah, again, I think the question really is how much of a footprint will this dog park have? And I think some of the folks that came to our village board meetings had mentioned, you know, these dogs may not bark, but this one might. And then this one might bark at that dog. And then it sort of echoes around the neighborhood. I think that was one of the concerns, because the folks that are really behind the dog park, their belief is, and because they've traveled to many of them, is that once the dogs are within the park, there's typically very little barking that occurs, because the barking is more of a, you know, they're fronting each other to let them know how cool they are, or how ferocious they are. But once they get let off the lead, dogs tend to calm down considerably, and they don't really bark. They're more about running and chasing and doing whatever dogs do. But I think that the gentleman that came to our meeting a couple of times was not as concerned about these dogs as much as it might be a neighborhood dog. One of the things that, you know, maybe we could consider is putting in some bushes or something to help break up the view or whatever. Again, I think there's a lot of ideas and proposals, but just want to decide what we're going to do and get doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions about this? Again, this is just draft form. It's not formal by any means. We just wanted to get something drawn so that Paul and I have something to reference.
Oh, that's great, Dewey. Thank you. Anyone else?
Thanks for sharing, Dewey.
Yeah, sure. I'll send it to you guys if you want. Just hit me up, and that way you can send it to your friends or your family or your dogs, whatever.
So the barking would be sort of like you at the pickleball courts? Just you're sporadic and then it's over?
Most of the time at the pickleball courts, I'm just scoring.
We have the medals to show that, Dewey.
I don't have
oversight committee discussion. We haven't had a meeting since, so we'll our next one will be the 8th, and we'll have that, and then we'll share next committee of the whole. Was there any public comments on village business, Pat?
There were not.
Schedule of meetings is committee of the whole, 6/15, June 9th, 2020. We don't have any reason for closed session, do we?
We do not.
Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Charles, seconded by
I'll second.
Trustee Churchill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? I hear no opposed, so the ayes have it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
You go.